What up, team? It's MurderInc, back with another banger of a Barbarian build here for Season 3. This is probably not only one of the best builds for a Barbarian as of right now, but arguably for Season 3 of Diablo 4. There's a lot to tackle here, so let's get right into it. Alright guys, as explained, this is a Hammer of the Ancients charge leap build. You heard that right. We're using 2 Shoouts, we are using Martial. If you want a build planner, of course I will have that available for you. It's going to be in the pinned comments, you'll find all the information. There's a lot to this build. I do recommend watching a decent bit of this video just so you kind of understand. First, let's just start with, I'll run at tier 59. Don't have too many high ranks, but you can see the affixes here. Let's go and run that. We do want extra XP, so you know what, let's just fill out one of our resistances. Cold is looking a bit low. All right, perfect. I mean, they're all not perfect, but let's just head right in and you're going to be able to see very quickly, very quickly, why this build is so overpowered. Keeping in mind, I'm using 1 quality of life, I guess, unique. I did add it as part of the build planner. It's going to be Ramaladni's. We're using it for charge. We're going to have High Fury pretty often here, but let me just show you what I'm talking about here. As we can see, we're using 2 Shouts here. Not in the typical format as you might think here. So we start, we charge, everything's good, everything is dead. Now, the one thing I should... Actually, we're just going to show the gameplay, right? We're just here to show fast. I can go over the specifics much later on. So as you can see, everything pretty much dies. I know charge can be wonky and you can miss a few, I guess, important mobs there. And this is actually the worst dungeon layout for a build like this. If I could just go straight, I would be pretty close to the end right now, because you're just leaping all the time and damage is fantastic. Speed is, there's going to be nothing faster in the game than this. Look at my charge cooldown, by the way, right? 1 second left if I hit the targets. Then we leap here, 5 seconds. So why do we have Shouts, right? Because of the new martial glyph that we're using and abusing for sure. Every time here, let me just charge into nothing. Okay, I hit something, so... Okay, so 4 seconds left, I hit a Shout, it's instantly back up. That is going to be invaluable for spamming charge, for resetting any cooldowns if you do mess up. As you can see, overpowered proc there. But the point is, we have 3 separate weapons, 1 on charge, 1 on Hammer of the Ancients, and 1 on leap. So it's going to be incredibly fast weapon swapping. Let's go ahead and leap over here. Charge, Hammer of the Ancient, they are pretty much dead, minus this one guy. Because I pushed him right into the damage reduction. It happens. Okay, we do that. We go ahead and leap. Charge again. Back off cooldown. Charge again. Yeah, see, like it's kind of just insane how this all works out here. So this is why this build is interesting. This is the most beginner-friendly build you will ever see. There's nothing wrong that you can do by spamming order. I've tried hitting every single button in different orders, and nothing can mess this build up. You just can't. I guess you can spam everything while you're AFK, but like any build wouldn't work if you did that. But as far as being any type of gamer, there's nothing wrong you can do with this build. Now, that's not that special, right? There are many builds that can claim to do the same exact thing. Why this build is different is there is a way to play this that is very difficult. And I cannot stress very difficult enough. So if you look at the cooldowns on the bottom of the screen here, the best and perfect way to do this, like I said, it's going to be dungeon dependent, but you want to charge, ground stomp, leap, Hammer the Ancients as fast as possible all of the time. It's kind of harder because I'm doing low level stuff, but ideally if you're not one-shotting everything, the weapon swapping you can do with this build is unmatched to any build in the game. There's nothing else you can do to swap weapons faster than this because of, I mean, first of all, how fast the animations are and for the mobility you get while using them. So, I mean, I'm not going to go into detail on how to play this the advanced way because if you're a gamer, you will figure it out very quickly while playing this, how you have to be on top of the buttons you're hitting. Charge, refreshing cooldowns with the Shouts. I mean, the 2 Shouts here, every time you hit it, gives 40% cooldown reduction to anything on cooldown, which is why it's so strong. I guess I can showcase the boss damage here. Do this. Charge, shout, charge, ground stomp, shout, charge, leap, hammer the ancients. As you can see, I'm not getting, I think I'm missing the charge. I'm not following my own advice here. Okay, that one hit for sure. So I guess you can say this is the only downside of the build is the single target. However, if you've played this game before, I mean, there was our first good hit. Yeah, sometimes charge bugs like that. That's actually, I'm glad I caught that. Maybe you've noticed this. You hit the charge button and you just go to a random wall here. All right, I missed that one too. All right, so this is, I know I'm not making a convincing bossing for this, but I've cleared Varshan, I've cleared the ice tunnels, Duriel, all of that good stuff, and it went perfectly fine. It's kind of hard to talk and play, even though I did say it's simple. I was in no danger of dying. I am doing a lower run here, but the TLDR for this is going to be the bossing gets better with endgame gear. So as we can see, I don't even have all of my gear upgraded. My Paragon, I have a really good Paragon actually. It's going to be in the build planner. It's the God Paragon board from Season 2 that I used that kind of blew up everywhere. The efficiency of this board is kind of crazy for the output and survivability you get, and it's just even better as I slowly make my way up to the final glyph slot here, but you can find that in the planner for sure. So my point with bossing is, once you get the Duriel necklace, the legs, any unique helmet, this build just explodes single target. I didn't keep it because I wanted to appeal to the majority of players as I'm making it, right? Most players aren't even close to 100 right now, so it's going to be more realistic to show you this build in the planner, and I will have side notes that if you add in the Banished Lord Talisman necklace, you one-shot every boss. Right? It's just like Season 2, they did nerf Overpower and Hammer the Ancients. However, that nerf is felt the most before endgame. Once you get to endgame, it doesn't matter if you're critting for 300 million like last season or 150 million this season, a one-shot is a one-shot, right? So that's where the bossing is completely trivialized with using any type of uniques that are decently common for endgame content. Now that I've gone over that, if you don't need any further guidance on this build, take a look at the build planner and everything else will be explained. However, if you're still a little bit confused in the build, and I did mention there's one thing you should know at the start, unfortunately I have full Fortify now, so it's not going to be as ideal. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to another Nightmare dungeon here so I can show you exactly what I'm talking about. Alright guys, so for most players, this is what you're going to want to do at the start of every single dungeon. As we can see, my Fortify is quite low right now. I don't have any Paragon board things that give me Fortify, so what am I going to do? We want to overcap Fury as quick as possible, so run to the first mob, ground stomp, leap on them, keep generating, use your first shout, reset the cooldowns, leap again. You can use charge if the mobs are doing too much damage to you, double charge there, run to another group of mobs, ground stomp again, and as we can see, we're full Fortify. As soon as you see the full Fortify pop off, it's go time. Just head straight through the dungeon like you see me doing now, leaping where we can, and like this is just game set match. That's all you have to do. Take like 2 seconds at the start of every single dungeon. Some people may not like this, but honestly, it happens so quickly based on how I made and formulated this build, because I knew Fortify is risky to kind of ignore on the Paragon board, especially for the Warbringer tree, by skipping that. So this is the easiest way to do it. You take 2 seconds, you're full Fortify to start, and you can easily sustain it going through, because we do of course have Steadfast Berserker and Numbing Wrath. You don't need Numbing Wrath. You can in fact swap this around if you want to take something like Bulkathalos, which gives you DR when you leap. The only reason why I kind of just threw Numbing Wrath on there for the easy rage gen at the start is because you can see when I leap, I'm rarely sticking around to stand inside those. Maybe for bosses, you can do that if you really need survivability, but again, this build is so tanky because the damage is kind of nutty. You could focus full damage if you want to, and then make other swaps. Again, this is a very, very versatile build. You can change anything you want. You don't like Hammer the Ancients, pick any core skill, slap it into this build, it will work. If you like double swing, use double swing. If you like upheaval, which is very good this season, by the way, use upheaval. So there's going to be nothing limiting here. The only specific thing to Hammer the Ancients is going to be the Hammer the Ancients Ancestral Force. Just swap this with anything that benefits the core skill of your choice. You might be thinking, I do have max fury rolls on the helmet and rings here. That's going to be for Ramaladni's. If you don't have Ramaladni's, don't worry. You don't need it for this build. I have it. It's a very good damage boost to charge on single target if you can get those overpower hits. So that's the only reason why I have this on here. And you might notice one thing really quickly. It's not in the build planner, but it's here. Life on kill. On paper, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So this is 120. We'll just round it up to 130, 140 life per mob that you kill. For some reason, I think this isn't working because when I do pull like 15 mobs and instantly kill them, my life doesn't shoot to full. So I do think there's a bug here. If it did work, however, for AoE speed farming, life on kill would be the best in slot for weapons because you really don't need damage. Barbarian's kind of overpowered right now. But since it's not, or doesn't seem to be working as intended, just use the red overpower damage gems and you will be on your way to greatness. Outside of that, everything else can be found in the build planner. To get the bleed source, which is nice for extra berserking uptime, even though it's pretty much 100% as it is. Once you get things like overlapping berserking gives you another damage bonus, activated by uniques, that's when all of these sources of berserking really comes in handy, especially with sword expertise if you kill a bleeding mob. Berserk, right? So that's why I took this. As of right now in this build, there is no current source of vulnerable damage. If you're playing in group play and someone's applying vulnerability, for sure you can swap to two-handed axe expertise. You will be missing a lot by not having a bleed. I would just swap around a skill tree talent right here, outburst, just figure out what you want to do. One thing to notice about the skill tree, there's one free point right here in defensive stance. You can put this wherever you want, right? If you're not using Ramaladni's, you also have these 3 points here. Again, stunned vulnerable doesn't happen too often in this build. I know we have ground stomp, but to be honest, ground stomp is just for fury. There's no other real use for it, and I don't like basic skills. They're clunky, they're slow. The ground stomp animation is very, very fast, and it's a burst of instant fury, which really you want in this build if you want to get some huge, huge overpower hits with Hammer the Ancients. So if I did have to say if you could swap one ability out of this, it would be Ground Stomp. If you prefer a basic skill, absolutely swap in Lunging Strike here, and then you get 3 free points here to put pretty much wherever you want. The last thing I want to talk about for this build is going to be the Shouts. If you're finding you're running into survivability issues, this is really important, you want to swap out Warcry. Swap out Warcry for Challenging Shout. If you find out survivability is a non-issue for you in bosses and while clearing dungeons, go with Warcry. We have the 10x multiplier. We have another source of berserking here. All things are good. So it doesn't really matter what you do, extra damage for Warcry or a huge burst of survivability when you use Challenging Shout. So that's going to be the complete rundown of this build. If you have any questions, comment below. Feel free to join my Discord, and I have a help my build section where you can post saying I'm using this build of yours, and you will be responded to very quickly. As always, guys, if you enjoyed this content, smash that like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I will see you all in the next upload.